Tribunal's verdict sentencing former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to death is not entirely unexpected, given the widespread outrage that led to her ouster in August last year. But the sentencing for crimes against humanity itself is unprecedented, with wide ramifications, including on Bangladesh's relationship with India. To discuss what the verdict means and its implications, we have with us senior journalist Sumir Bhaumik, who has covered Bangladesh for various international media houses and is currently a contributor to the Federal. Welcome, Subir.
Thank you.
Before we look at the verdict itself, let's first discuss how this is going to impact India. Already there are loud calls for India to extradite her to Bangladesh. How would you assess India's response given its closeness to Sheikh Hasina?
If India has to extradite her and send back to Bangladesh, India should not have sheltered her in the first place because everyone knew this was coming. There's not one soul who follows Bangladesh who had any doubt that the Yunus government, sort of activated the International Crimes Tribunal, was gunning for this. They would go for Sheikh Hasina, and at some point of time, there's more or less a kangaroo court that she will be found guilty of all these crimes against humanity, regardless of what evidence they have and all that. And this would happen. Point is, India knew that this was coming. Already the Yunus government has tried to pressurize India, to send her back to stand trial. Then when Mr. Yunus met Mr. Modi on the sidelines of the BIMSTEC meeting, they said, get Sheikh Hasina to keep quiet. She's giving too many interviews. And Modi said, no, I can't control social media in my country. So she goes. Now, if India is caught between the rock and the hard place, if India sends back Sheikh Hasina, it will be seen as succumbing to pressure from a neighboring country and a regime which has done no great favors to India. Since he came to power, has tried to warm up to Pakistan. General Asim Munir, the Pakistan military chief, has actually threatened India with a hit in the east in the event of a future conflict. 11 Pakistani military delegations have so far visited. As we speak, there's a naval delegation there a Pakistani delegation in Bangladesh. They are seeking berthing facilities for their submarines in Bangladesh's submarine base at Pekua. ISI delegation is there in Bangladesh. So, Bangladesh is going hunky-dory under Yunus with Pakistan, the very country which oppressed them, the very country from which it had to break away in 1971, facing a genocide which led to the death of 3 million people. So, Yunus is actually going against the very essence of what Bangladesh is all about, because Bangladesh was created on the basis of secular linguistic Bengali nationalism. And that's why it broke away from Pakistan. Today, under Yunus, not only is he warming up to Pakistan, which definitely will not make India very happy, he's also releasing from jail all convicted leading Islamic radicals like Jashimuddin Rahmani, the Emir of Ansarullah Bangla team, and the list is very long. And I don't have to waste time recounting this list. And his main backers in this scenario is the Jamaat-e-Islami, whose Emir, Muhammad Tahir, when he went with Yunus to New York for the United Nations General Assembly, in a meeting in New York, he threatened India with a jihad involving 5 million Bangladeshis. That if India, does anything, we will unleash 5 million youths. So these are the people around you. So why should India send back Sheikh Hasina and oblige Yunus? Has he done anything to make any friendly gesture to India? Secondly, we are, in Bangladesh, our relation has been very regime specific. Now, there is nobody to blame for this because Bangladesh politics is very polarized. And despite the liberation war, there was a clear divide between people who favor the values of the liberation war and those who oppose it. And those who value the ethos of the liberation war are pro-Indian. They see India as a friend. Those who oppose the ethos of the liberation war sees India as an expansionist enemy. So There are people who say, oh, well, India put all its eggs in one basket. Do we have? Once I told a very senior raw official, when India was trying to cultivate during Vajpayee's tenure in 2000, 2001,
Mm.
India was trying to cultivate the BNP. And, a very senior officer of RAW said, we should not put all our eggs in one basket. I told him, don't take it otherwise. In Bangladesh, India has only one basket. The other baskets that you see are not really very attractive. They are bottomless, and you will drop an egg there and the egg will go down and burst. And I
Mm.
was proved right. You know why? We tried to be friendly with the BNP, and we tried to create a non-Awami League friendly option. And what happened? In 2004, the Chittagong case happened. 10 trucks load of weapons were recovered from the Chittagong port, and much of these weapons are supposed to go to the Alpha.
Mm.
And the involvement of senior BNP leaders, Jamaat Islami leader, Motiur Rahman Nizami, he was the industry minister. A,
Right.
a, a particular, part of the Chittagong port, which was used for bringing in these weapons, was under the industry ministry, which was headed by Motiur Rahman Nizami, the Jamaat, big
Right.
leader, who later hanged for his crimes of 71. So what I'm trying to say is that these people are anti-Indian. You try to be friends with them. The BJP government under Vajpayee did explore the possibility of a non-Awami League India's friendly option, and they failed miserably. What we
But
got in return,
Subir, coming to the present, does Bangladesh have some kind of a or any kind of a leverage against India? Because now the pro-government and pro-Yunus sections, and in fact, most of them are saying that we are going to put pressure on India to somehow ensure that Sheikh Hasina is sent back to Bangladesh. So you think they have that kind of a leverage against India, or can they use any other external powers to do that to pressure India? You think?
Bangladesh has absolutely nothing to pressurize India. They're banking on Big Brother Uncle Sam. Yunus is
Mm.
very close to powers that
Yeah.
be in Washington, and he thinks that he can get Washington to pressurize India so that Hasina is sent back. As we all know, that Washington played a very major role in
Yeah.
bringing down Hasina as part of the year, and Yunus himself admitted it. It was a meticulously designed operation. And where did
Right.
he say this? He said this when he was attending a program of the Clinton Foundation after coming to power. He said this, with ex-president Bill Clinton by his side. And he, in fact, called one of the student leaders, Mahfouz, who is now his assistant, personal
Mm.
assistant, and said, oh, well, he's the mastermind. So there is
Right.
no doubt about in anyone's mind that this was no spontaneous student agitation which brought Sheikh Hasina down. It was a meticulously designed operation. And
Yeah.
the people, the foot soldiers of that operation, were the madrasa educated youth, mostly who were brought to the streets by Jamaat-e-Islami and other Islamist radical groups. But
Yeah.
apparently we thought, it's a student operation. People who follow Bangladesh closely, as I do, had no
Yeah.
doubt in our mind who were behind this operation. Now,
Right.
Yunus may not be personally by instinct a fundamentalist, but he is a power seeker. And
Yeah.
he knows that if he has to keep Awami League out of power,
Mm.
and stick on. He
Yeah.
needs Jamaat and all these Islamist people, which is why he's going along with them. So he's befriending Pakistan to make Jamaat happy. Jamaat
Yeah.
is unabashedly pro-Pakistan. And
Yeah. Yunus
the
also has
only
a grudge, and Yunus also has a
no,
grudge
no, I
against
no,
Muslims.
Dakshin, you
Yeah.
talked of leverage. They
Yeah.
they have two leverage actually. One is Washington. The other leverage is, Bangladesh is right in the middle of India's east and northeast. You see the
Mm.
geography, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
traditionally, when this was East Pakistan, the Pakistanis helped, rebel movements in Nagaland and Mizoram. They backed
Mm.
it. It's all on record. They backed
Yeah.
Lal Denga, they backed Fizo. Fizo actually escaped into East Pakistan and went to London, where he stayed for the rest of his life on a fake Pakistani passport. I know the Muslim name that was given to him. I have that copy of the passport. Well, anyway, so point
Mm.
I'm trying to make is Pakistan can use Bangladesh as the second front of its proxy war against India.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that leverage they have. But
Mm.
to be frank, when Pakistan tried to use its eastern territory to attack India to launch this kind of proxy war in Northeast, 71 happened.
Yeah.
Indira Gandhi did not go into Bangladesh or send the army into Bangladesh or back the Bengali freedom fighters for the love of Bengali. She did it to settle scores with Pakistan.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
part of my thesis called Insurgent Crossfire, that in South Asia you have a reciprocal, backing of nation states to insurgency. So point I'm trying to make here is, if Yunus is playing that game that the Pakistanis played in the 50s and 60s, he will have to also bargain for a strong Indian response. And that response may cover various domains, not
yeah,
just the military domain, may not be the instantly the military domain, but the covert domain, other domain, economic domain.
yeah.
So much as Yunus has one or two leverage against India, we have 20 different leverages against Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, yeah. So, coming back to the current verdict itself, Subir, uh, Sheikh Hasina has called it a witch hunt, but she was offered an opportunity to represent herself in, at the tribunal. I mean, but despite that, I think there was no presence. She did not really present her point of view. So, how do you see it? Is there any merit when she says that it is a witch hunt?
No, no, Sheikh Hasina is absolutely, right in one way. I mean, just imagine how the mobs marched into her residence and what they did, how they ransacked it. If Sheikh
Yeah,
Hasina was there in Bangladesh, should be killed. Today, when Awami League leaders are taken to jail, even Deepu Moni, who I call a dear sister, she was the education minister, and then she, she was even the foreign minister at some point. She's a lady. When she comes to the court to, stand trial, she's beaten up by lawyers who are supporters of Jamaat Islami. She's beaten up as a lady. So, what security is there for Sheikh Hasina if she goes to stand trial? She can go and stand trial. Secondly, you know, they did not allow her to set up her own defense team. They said, we will give you a defense council. Now, that defense council is in the payroll of this government
mm,
and, is part of this ICT, International Crimes Tribunal. Look at how he defended Sheikh Hasina.
yeah,
When 5 weeks ago the charge sheet was submitted, and it was a very exhaustive charge sheet, many charges, many documents, and this lawyer was supposed to defend not only Sheikh Hasina but also her Home Minister Asaduজ্জামান Khan Kamal, which in
mm,
itself is a big thing. They may have
yeah,
different defense arguments, but interestingly, he did not ask for any adjournment. He did not seek any time, to actually examine the case. He said, no, okay, I'm okay with the time, which is clearly, I have talked to lawyers in Bangladesh and said the exhaustive document that was submitted against Sheikh Hasina, the charge sheet, it's 5 weeks is a very small time to actually research it point by point and present a proper defense. Most interestingly, Darshan, not a
yeah,
single defense witness was presented in court. Now,
mm,
there are two arguments. If they say nobody has come forward to defend Sheikh Hasina, it's true. Awami League still has a 40% support base in Bangladesh. And I say this with all my knowledge of
yeah,
Bangladesh. Not one person will come forward to defend Sheikh Hasina. That itself shows what kind of atmosphere prevails here.
yeah,
And
yeah,
tens of thousands of Awami League people are in jail. I spoke to one of my very dear sisters. She is a Mohila League, Awami League's women's wing organizer in one of the district, my ancestral district. She posted two anti-Yunus Facebook posts. She was arrested. For the
mm,
last 2 months, her lawyer has moved the Metropolitan Court 5 times for bail. They don't even hear it. They just say dismissed. And
mm,
then lawyer is trying to file a case in the high court. High court is not taking the case. So this is the condition of justice. And you know what she said? She said, a jail room which is meant for two people, we are 16 people there because there is so many people have been arrested. Already
mm,
1.5 lakh people are in jail in Bangladesh. Most of them are Awami League people who have been belatedly arrested. So jails are overflowing. Yunus is going to make a record of sorts, I think he
yeah,
may even come very close to North Korea in this respect. So what I'm trying to say is there is no atmosphere of a free and fair trial. And Sheikh Hasina, she's likely to be attacked. What is the guarantee? All these terrorists have been released. All these people she put in jail have today been released. You mean to say they will leave her? They will attack her. The way they killed her father, they will kill her also. Don't you ever forget that Sheikh Hasina has survived 19 assassination attempts, most of the time when she was tipped off by Indian intelligence.
Hmm.
19 times. 2004,
Yeah.
on 21st of July. Wait, that was when she was an opposition leader. When she got up to address a crowd, she was attacked with grenades. 21 people around her, they formed a ring around her and they died. 21 Awami League leaders died. So Sheikh Hasina has survived. She has a cat with 9 lives, unlike her father, who was not so lucky. So,
Yeah.
these people are making a joke that
Yeah.
Sheikh Hasina did not represent herself. There is no situation for her to go back and try. Let there be an international, guarantee that the United Nations will stand guard or something like that. She will go back.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that in Delhi, she is telling the Indian officials who deal with her, I will go back to my country. I don't care if I die. She has many problems. She is
Yeah.
a bad judge of people, and I tell this to her openly. I've known her for a while. But one thing you cannot fault Sheikh Hasina, like her father, she's an enormously courageous person.
Right.
She's prepared to go back. It's our people who are saying, no, 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 madam, you are in trouble. Bahinji, they call her. You will be in trouble. They'll kill you.
Okay. The other thing politically, now that Awami League is already banned, you think how is it going to withstand this kind of a sentencing? What's going to happen to the Awami League itself? Can it, sustain itself in Bangladesh the way it is now?
Well, I'll tell you something. And I'll recall what Sheikh Mujibur Rahman said when he announced independence on 7th March 71. আমাদের দাবায় রাখতে পারবা না. This is a race which cannot be suppressed. আমাদের দাবায় রাখতে পারবা না. We cannot be put down. You see, the Awami League, interestingly, and this is a point I will make, Awami
Yeah.
League is not a revolutionary party. It never believed in armed struggle. It is not like the Communist Party of China or the Communist Party of Cuba or the Communist Party of Soviet Union, which had a military wing, which had an armed wing, which fought. No, Army League is a party. It's a constitution-driven party, and it's an election-driven party. Whenever they had an opportunity in military-ruled Pakistan, they contested election. Now let us look at 1970 election. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman led Awami League, swept the election. It is the military and the leaders of West Pakistan which said we don't honor these verdicts. Like the Burmese generals did not honor, verdicts of elections in Myanmar. So they did not allow Sheikh Mujib to become the prime minister. He would have been the prime minister of Pakistan. Even then, Awami League did not go for armed struggle. They went for what? Street protest. It is only when on 26 March 1971 that the Pakistan army cracked down and started Operation Searchlight, which was a genocide,
Hmm.
that the Awami League had to flee into India, and then they resorted to armed struggle. I am
Right.
afraid Yunus is creating a similar situation today. He has not learned from history that Awami League is not normally a party which will go for armed struggle, it will not take up weapons. But today, Yunus, by denying Awami League the opportunity to contest election, is forcing Awami League to the wall and therefore driving it towards an armed option which it wants to avoid. Today, the Yunus has said they have imposed a ban on Awami League. Now, if Yunus is so confident about elections and Awami League being unpopular and all that, let it face election. Let the people of Bangladesh decide. Awami League will be voted out of power. They used to say Sheikh Hasina is conducting election, not conducting election fairly. Let them conduct a fair election under a neutral authority.
Hmm.
Point is, Awami League was accused of not conducting election fairly. Mr. Yunus does not want to conduct election at all. His cronies are saying, oh, Mr. Yunus should be allowed to stay on for 5 years. He will turn Bangladesh into, Singapore. Let him first turn Bangladesh into Bangalore here. Then let us talk of Singapore. All this bullshit, he's trying to fool everybody. He does not want to contest election because if there are election, Mr. Yunus will be nobody. The party that he has formed, they
Yeah.
will lose deposit in every single seat they will contest. I can vouch for it. These NCP people.
Hmm.
So he is depending where. Now his game is very simple. Here I will tell you something. He's a very clever man. He's a shrewd guy. He knows meticulous designing. Yeah. So what he is doing is now he's forcing the Awami League to take the path of violence, violent street protest, because Awami League does not have any other option. Now,
Mm.
if there is a commotion and a chaos, Yunus will use it as a justification to delay the election, to say that election in February is not possible. The Awami League is responsible. They are creating this situation. But he is creating this situation by denying Awami League the opportunity to contest the election. Point here is it's a win-win for him. If the Awami League creates a big chaos and election, Yunus will say election cannot be held now. So he hands on to power
Right.
and no election. If the Awami League fails to create a big enough, chaos, and Yunus can manage to hold election without the Awami League, then he will bargain with this anti-Awami League forces and try to be the president of the country, which will guarantee him immunity from all future prosecution. There are many conflict of interest cases and corruption cases against him. He'll face all this. If he's president, immunity from prosecution. Secondly, Dakshin, if he's
Yeah.
president, he will be the supreme commander of the armed forces, as in India. So he
Yeah.
can control the armed forces. So he will have a big enough say in policy making without having to take the problem of day to day, routine work. So Yunus is playing that game so that
Mm.
he's in a win-win situation either way.
See, now that the battle lines are drawn, everybody knows where they stand, and then you have a election that is tentatively scheduled for February. How do you think all this is going to impact Bangladesh politics itself, say in the medium to short term to medium term?
Well, if the Awami League, Yunus is talking of fair and inclusive election. How can there be inclusive election without the Awami League, the party which led the country to freedom, the party which ruled Bangladesh for half the time of its post-independence history? Can you have fair and inclusive election in India without the Congress? Can you say Congress will not contest the election tomorrow just because they have lost the elections? And
Yeah.
here, the Awami League has not lost any election. You have forced the Awami League out of power through an agitation, fine. Now, if the Awami League cannot contest the election, what options it has got? So it will, have to go for street protest, and to counter this street protest, Yunus will not only bring in the police. There is a recent, very sinister development. The Bangladesh government has said we are going to raise a national armed reserve for which they have earmarked 8,800 young people for arms training. National armed reserve for what? If your army needs a backup, national armed reserve, obviously you have India in mind. Fine. This armed reserve with 1 month military training, you will fight India. Nonsense.
Mm.
Now, before the Awami League agitation program started with the 13th November lockdown of Dhaka, Yunus made an announcement that these militia people will join the police in resisting Awami League agitation, which means what? That this militia, Islamist militia, these boys who have been brought here are all from, the Islamist groups. These 8,000 odd Islamist militia were issued police uniform. It's a complete violation of standard operating procedures for law and order duties in Bangladesh.
Right.
That you raise a militia from Islamist groups, you issue them police weapons, a police dress, and riot control equipment, and then you unleash them on Awami League. They will open fire, they will kill Awami League, because today the Dhaka Metropolitan Police Commissioner has said that, they're allowed to fire.
Mm. Right. So, I mean, what it seems like we are going to see an increasing dilution of democracy and into slipping into some kind of authoritarianism.
Then a democracy already has vanished in Bangladesh. You are going to see a civil war now. Because if you bring to the street trained Islamist militia who are now under the garb of a national reserve, is getting formal government training, they will be deployed with police dress against all these people. Can you imagine tomorrow if the RSS people say we are going to deploy our RSS volunteer alongside police? Is that
Yeah.
possible in India? That's not. So here they are going to deploy that kind of a militia. Then what happens? They open fire, they kill Awami Leaguers.
Yeah.
Awami League then will go into armed struggle. They can also purchase weapons, they can also get all these things. and they will fight. So Bangladesh, I am very, very apprehensive that Bangladesh, if Yunus does not change, if under pressure from the international community or what, an
Yeah.
Awami League is allowed to contest election, and if there is no free and fair election, Bangladesh may head towards a civil war. Doomsday predictions, but I hope I am proved wrong.
Yeah, I mean, on this pretty somber note, and on this important day when Sheikh Hasina's options are absolutely limited right now, I think we'll wait to see what happens next. Thank you for elucidating, at least in the immediate aftermath of the sentencing. So where Bangladesh stands and what it means. Thank you, Subir.
Thank you.